So I skipped over economics, and I want to tell you that for a long time, this wasn't even part of environmental science. I mean, really, it's still not. It's just really weird. There's going to be a question on the AP exam, and it says the real cost of goods and service does not include, and the answer is environmental cost. So realistically, whenever we're talking about money in environmental science, they don't even include environmental cost. What does that mean? Pollution cost, waste cost, anything that we're going to cover is really not included in that. It's like it's left out because these two topics weren't really combined for a long time. All I want you to know is that in a nation, how do we determine wealth? Good. The output of goods and services. How much you can make, how much you can provide, and how much money you make from both of them. Okay? I used to go over this definition. I put a picture in there. If you're more than welcome to look at it. But the gross domestic product divided by the population also is a way to calculate it. I'm not going to test you on that because it never comes up. I'm just going to go like that so you know it's not on the test, okay? Although we don't talk about economics, we do talk a lot about this. And it's basically when you look at the purchasing power between nations or even between cities. I mean, you could go that deep, and we will go that deep. But when we're talking about nations, we reference them as LDCs and MDCs. Anybody know what the breakdown is? Lower developed is good. What's another word? Less developed. And then we're going to talk about their input and output into the environment. So we're going to break them down everywhere we go. What their impact is in terms of population, waste, all the topics. And then MDC, more developed. They also reference them as developing countries, so you want to add that word to less developed, and developed. So developing is the same as less developed countries, and more developed is the same as developed. Yep. Are they ever going to reference them yes, except that there's some areas within first world countries that have less developed cities, right? So if it's a country, that if we're talking about areas and they leave out the word countries because they will reference that too.
Is like all poor countries referred to as developing, or like what if it's like just not going anywhere? Right?
So the key to developed versus developing is money at the end of the day. Okay.
I'm saying if it's like a low developed country, but it's not like on the like getting higher. Is it still developed?
It might be on a borderline, and there's going to be, if we're going to talk about it in environmental science, which is what we're going to focus on, not their purchasing power, not their economy, we're going to focus on their effects on the environment. So food production and population and waste production and energy, those are the things we're going to focus on, and we're going to compare between the two, okay? Never money. So if they're growing financially because now they struck oil, and they're going to go from being less developed to more developed. Or oil is their only resource, and because it's running out, they're going backwards. We're going to focus on the oil versus the money. Yes?
So like
our big question in the environment, even though we're not going to focus on money or economy, right? Because it's never going to be involved, but we're going to talk about it, is how can we protect our environment, our natural capital, which is what? Say it out loud. Natural resources, which include
services,
matter and energy, and the natural services, which include cycling of matter and flow of energy. Good. How can we protect that? Everything Earth provides us and the way it does, and grow financially. Be wealthy and be green. So if you want to narrow down that whole page, is how can the country grow and have money, but stay green and think of the future and live sustainable? That is the big question in environmental science, because we have to make changes, but nobody wants to lose money in the process. And I'm going to pause and give. You want to be sustainable and environmental and have money or growth, you got to think about these things if you want to be successful. So we want to save Earth and continue to make money. So we're actually at really, what are we going to cover in this class? This is like the overview of what is environmental science, what are the problems, and every topic we're going to cover falls into one of these bubbles. So instead of like getting you to answer bubbles, I'm going to show you pictures so that those pictures stay with you. So this is the root cause, and I'm sure some of you know it, but after I show you the picture, everybody will know it. Oh, no. No. I swear I downloaded this picture today. I probably opened the wrong file. Hold on. So yes, what's the root cause? Overpopulation. This is an actual pool in China, okay, that people go to. Like rapids. This is rapids of China. And if you look online, they literally have a picture of their wave pool, their lazy river. You know, you bump into people there, right? Yeah. So overpopulation links to, so this causes this, causes this, causes this, causes this. It is the root cause of all environmental problems. I'm going to pause. Other problems, and I don't have a picture for this, but what do you think the biggest problem, like, because we're so many, there's space is definitely a problem. What is space considered in this class? Land. What is land? Resource. So resource depletion is a problem. And degradation, I'm going to add that word to every single problem, because you can deplete a resource how? By using it and using it and using it and then not replacing it. But you could degrade a resource by abusing it. How do we degrade water? Putting chemicals in it. So taking long showers would be consuming it. Adding pollution to water would be degrading it. But it's its own category. So resource is its own category. I always want you to think of trees as a resource. Sometimes you forget that, but living things are resources, okay? Because we need other living things to survive, especially trees. And there's just a picture of the lack of forest compared to 1985. And this would be now in between here and here. By 2010, we have 30 or 67% loss.
What about 2050?
Disaster.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, what else? Do I need to show pictures first or get answers?
Oh wait, what was on the orange?
I've only given this and this. You're giving me the rest. So what other problems? I got to show you pictures? Here's one. What do you think that has to do with?
Global warming.
Global warming. We're going to call it climate change. And we are not calling it climate change because global warming is not real. We are calling it climate change because global warming is a little part of this big problem called climate change. It is bigger than just the warming of Earth, okay? So the title changed because the problem is a lot bigger than just the warming of Earth. The warming of Earth is part of climate change. What's this? Pollution. We've got pollution everywhere. Air, land, water. And we're going to say degradation because we also degrade our air, land, and water. So these two kind of can be correlated. What's this? Waste. So pollution and waste are also correlated, but they're also two separate topics. We will have units on air, water, and land pollution, and we will have a unit on waste, or maybe more than one. What's this? This is always a hard one. Coral reef. What do you see there? It's dead. Okay? Coral reef, you would see a lot of organisms and a lot of variety of organisms. Anybody know what that word is? Well, it would form one. So a coral reef is part of an ecosystem. But when you have an ecosystem that's packed with life and packed with varieties of life, bio would be there. Bio what? Good job. So the problem is in biodiversity, it's loss of it. So a lot of diverse ecosystems are losing diversity, which means lose. And I'll talk about the definitions again. Now, what do you think overpopulation? Let's say in the South Florida or United States of America, what do you think so many people are doing all the time? I had the best picture too. I had a picture of the Kardashians' shoe closet.
Overconsuming.
Yes. God, I shouldn't have. Overconsumption is the answer. The United States of America tends to buy a lot of things they don't need, which we all do and we're all guilty of. That's life. So we know what the root cause is. What is it? Overpopulation. So now I go into each one, a little overview. These are overviews because the first unit only touches on each one, and then we start to go in depth with each one. By definition, what is overpopulation? Too many people, not enough resources. And you could change the word people to organisms because other ecosystems can be overpopulated. So it doesn't have to be people. So right here, you could do /organisms, okay, if you want, orgs. I should type this. Okay, because it's not just people. We're talking about overpopulation because we are the problem. Our population is the problem or the root cause, but overpopulation by definition could be anyone. Anybody know what our current world population is? AP test question. Over 7 billion. I'll take this clock right here and it'll take us to the current world population right now. And it is 7 billion for every, I love to open that because every time I open it, yeah. And it's growing rapidly, right? Remember, leads to abuse of resources, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So the population we know is almost at 7.5 billion already, so that answer changes all the time. All right, so resource depletion. This was actually the last slide, I promise. Resource depletion includes what? What are resources? Name them. I'll take anything.
Food.
Water, food, oil, land, minerals. I never get the answer I'm looking for.
Oxygen.
Air and every element in there. People and other organisms. Don't forget that, okay? Living things are resources too. If you have resource depletion or the highest rate a resource can be used is the sustainable yield. So a resource has the maximum value that you can use it before it runs out. Even if it's a specific type of resource and it shouldn't run out, it still has a sustainable yield. And what are resources? We just answered anything you need. That comes from the environment. For years, there was only 2 types of resources. And then it kind of grew. But now there's this, and it's its own category. And as Michael said, it's the sun. They call the sun our perpetual resource. It does deserve to be in its own category because even though it's within another category, it's outside of Earth, so it's really not an Earth resource, and it leads to all the resources on Earth, or it's kind of indirectly part of or directly part of every other resource. So anybody know what types of resources we have? Or I left them open. What does non-renewable mean?
Oh, like that's like gas.
Can't be replaced. Once you use a non-renewable resource, it's gone, okay? It has limited quantities on Earth, and examples are coal, oil, and natural gas, nuclear, and all minerals are considered non-renewable resources. And yes, you have to know examples of non-renewable resources, okay? Anybody know what we call coal, natural gas, and oil in one word? Fossil fuels. So we could call them FF, and when we talk about burning them, we say BFF. So our fossil fuels are right here, and you could draw little arrows to each one because they're all fossil fuels. So fossil fuels, nuclear, and minerals are considered non-renewable resources. What's a renewable resource?
Something you can make.
Not necessarily. It can be reused. It cycles naturally and it's considered inexhaustible. So I'm going to say things like flowing water, soil, fresh air, and organisms are considered renewable resources. They never run out. Now, something I want to say about non-renewable. Non-renewable can replenish over time. It just takes a long time for them to come out.
Like diamonds.
what you have, so any mineral, what you have to know is if you use it, it's gone, right?